And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week.
We're teetering on the brink of World War III.
Ukraine's air assault has reportedly injured a North Korean general and killed a number of the more than 10,000 North Korean troops.
Moscow is furious over Western discussions regarding potential nuclear armament for Ukraine.
Now they've got the Houthi rebels fighting there. They got the North Koreans fighting there. At what point does NATO say, I can't let Ukraine fight alone?
The Biden administration is actually considering giving nuclear weapons to Ukraine.
We see the North Koreans, Iran, and China getting more and more involved in Ukraine.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has called on his military to improve its fighting capabilities to prepare for war.
We are really facing a global conflict.
North Korean media says Kim made the remarks at a meeting of battalion commanders in Pyongyang on Friday, calling for a limitless expansion of his nuclear program to counter the threat from the United States.
All of yours will be killed probably end of this year, and your families will be killed.
World War III has never been closer than it is right now.
As we have underscored many times, the regional conflict in Ukraine, provoked by the West, acquired a global character.
I am the president who delivers peace, and it's peace through strength.
We have to make sure that the deal being struck is a good deal.
And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate.
The earth mourns, verse 4, and fades away. The world languishes and fades away. The haughty people of the earth languish. The earth is also defiled under its inhabitants, because they've transgressed the laws, they've changed the ordinance and broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore the curse has devoured the earth, and those who dwell in it are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men are left.
Israel's ceasefire with Iran-backed Hezbollah going into effect at 4 a.m. local time. Israel's security cabinet is signing off on the deal brokered by the U.S. and France yesterday. This agreement includes a 60-day pause in fighting. It requires Hezbollah to end its armed presence in southern Lebanon, where the Lebanese army will take control. President Biden says the U.S. will make another push for a ceasefire deal in Gaza in coming days.
At 4 a.m. in Lebanon, guns were being fired, but this time in celebration, as a ceasefire finally took hold. Later, lines of cars stacked with mattresses returned to southern Lebanon. Families who had fled the violence finally able to go home.
Peace is possible.
We'll see if the ceasefire holds. Hezbollah is notorious for violating deals. One of the reasons Israel even went in there is because Hezbollah violated a previous resolution in 2006 where they promised to clear that same area south of the Litani from any armed personnel or weapons, which they clearly didn't do. And plus, Hezbollah still answers to Iran, so only time will tell if the ceasefire is going to hold.
Earlier, the Hamas said it was committed to cooperating with any efforts to secure a ceasefire in Gaza, where the group has been battling Israeli forces for more than a year.
So it's a very brutal, it's a very horrific war, and President Trump right now is exactly what Ukraine needs to stop this. And I know he's going to honor his promise to restore America's strength and end this war quickly.
Meanwhile, Russia says we're ready to talk. So now Biden thinks it's time to get long-range missiles into Russia when they indicate to the incoming administration they are ready to talk and maybe wrap up this war somehow. I mean, the Taliban wants a new chapter. Hamas wants an end to the war immediately. China wants peaceful coexistence. That's because the peace through strength guy, Donald Trump, is coming back. He just started receiving intel briefings, according to the Washington Post. He got his first one.
But of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that day should overtake you as a thief. Ye are all the children of light, and the children of the day. We are not of the night, nor of darkness. Therefore let us not sleep, as do others, but let us watch and be sober. For they that sleep, sleep in the night, and they that be drunken, are drunken in the night. But let us, who are of the day, be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and for an helmet, the hope of salvation. For God hath not appointed us to wrath, The earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore hath the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left. But pray ye, that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. The day of thy watchman and thy visitation cometh. Now shall be their perplexity, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week.
I am the president who delivers peace, and it's peace through strength.
In the Prince Charles vision, Charles stepped up to the microphone, and he said, I thank you for coming today. You're here by my request. Please take heed. I have a message for you. And then he said these words, I must inform you that your nation is at war and you have a battle to fight. But the saddest thing is you must fight it without God. But all of a sudden in my peripheral vision off to the left, there was a motion, and I turned to see what it was, and off to my left was a frog that was so big it wouldn't have fit under the ceiling. The motion I had seen off to my left that caught my peripheral vision was the frog's head had made this motion like they do before they're going to make the croaking sound when they fill the air sac under their chin. I watched it, and as that air sac began to fill and that dark green skin began to turn a yellowish color, terror literally swept over me. Out came out of its mouth, instead of a croaking sound, it came out a white vapor. It came right at us. It came right at Charles and the General. It enveloped Charles and the General. It was just about to hit my wife down on the end, when all of a sudden I was caught up into the heavens. As I was caught up in the heavens, looking down on what I would call like Trafalgar Square. Off to my left hand was a Russian general, fully dressed in his full general's outfit with all of his braid and everything, standing in the heavens. His fists were clenched like this, and they were down at his side like this. His chest was out, and he was looking down into the square at these people. And as this band of people down in the square are mocking his army and are literally scoffing and laughing at him and saying, you don't have any power, we're not afraid of you, I saw all of a sudden his neck muscles begin to thicken and his face begin to get a look of tension, and he was getting angry, and then his blood vessels begin to bulge as all of a sudden his fist came up like this, and he said, present arms, aim, fire. As they fired the first shot on these people, it totally caught these people by surprise. They sincerely, with their whole heart, did not believe that that massive military had any power, and they did not believe that that military would ever fire on them because of the response that was taking place there as they were fired on. They were caught by total surprise and total panic. And the whole action of that group of people in that square told me it was a surprise to them, even though they knew the army existed.
We've seen this type of, dangerous, reckless rhetoric before from President Putin. What we're focused on is continuing to support Ukraine with what it needs.
I mean, he says this all the time. He's said this for the last 1,000 days. He said, if you arm the Ukrainians, it will be a direct attack on Russia by NATO countries. He's said that over and over again.
This is all just bluster at this point. No one anticipates, no one expects that, President Putin is going to start nuclear war over this with President Biden and 2 months left. Like, there's nothing whatsoever in it for President Putin to do this.
He keeps playing and pretending like he's going to do something.
It sounds like you don't take Vladimir Putin's threats too seriously, and you don't think that the West should either.
I've been saying it since day one that he's a bully and he's not going to do that.
Despite all this posturing, the thinking is that Russia has too much to lose here. In a direct conflict with NATO, they will be outgunned, of course, and right now they have too much to lose with the new Trump administration. They have too much to lose with prospective peace talks through which they stand to gain. For example, in any kind of peace settlement, it would be highly beneficial to Moscow. That's the thinking.
It totally caught these people by surprise. They sincerely, with their whole heart, did not believe that that massive military had any power, and they did not believe that that military would ever fire on them because of the response that was taking place there as they were fired on. They were taught by total surprise and total panic. And the whole action of that group of people in that square told me it was a surprise to them, even though they knew the army existed. They could see it going into the heavens, but they sincerely believed it would not fire on them.
Is that a lot of people they don't understand the ramifications of this action, because they see, because I see it on American Western media all the time, to where you say, oh, Putin said he would do this, all these red lines were crossed with the tanks, and with the artillery systems, and then with the air defense systems, and then with the HIMARS, etc., and then nothing ever happened. Now, it's important to understand, we interpreted those red lines. We said they were red lines. Russia didn't. They have said this one, though. They did say long-range missiles was a red line. That's a different situation here. But the view in America is, well, they never did anything after these, so they never will. And so they just kind of disconnect their mind, and they think, well, just a couple of months before Trump comes in, they're just trying to mess up the groundwork, whatever. They don't understand the significance of this.
North Korean media says Kim made the remarks at a meeting of battalion commanders in Pyongyang on Friday, calling for a limitless expansion of his nuclear program to counter the threat from the United States.
And I'm looking at these troops, and all of a sudden I begin to realize these are Chinese. What are they doing here? And that was the end of the vision, when I recognized they were Chinese.
We see the North Koreans, Iran, and China getting more and more involved in Ukraine.
I saw Chinese and Russian soldiers on the ground. And Russian soldiers were telling the Chinese soldiers to go and pick up these people, round up these people, secure this quadrant, secure this area.
I saw China and Russia coming into the United States of America.
And I'm looking at these troops, and all of a sudden I begin to realize these are Chinese. What are they doing here?
Little France, Britain, and United States made very big step, even jump to the nuclear war and catastrophic destroying of the whole human mind. All of yours will be killed probably end of this year, and your families will be killed and so on. And it's
hang on. So are you saying that the Ukraine? Yes, hang on. So I just want to be clear, Sergey, what you're saying there. The decision by Biden to authorize long-range weapons for Ukraine will lead to nuclear war.
Yes, exactly.
And so now we have poked the bear. 62 days until Inauguration Day. Biden decides to do what he could have done 999 days ago when this started.
The reality is Finland and Sweden are telling their citizens now to prepare for nuclear war, and that seems incredibly hyperbolic. Or is reality truly there, right over a fine line? Is that where we really are?
It is where we are.
Technically, to target these rocket missiles, you need to have a satellite group and a very good map of the Russian territory. And to target those rocket missiles should be satellite group. Ukrainian army has no satellite group. So what kind of satellite group will be used for the target on these rocket missiles? What? Can you say the answer? Only answer: American, British, and French.
There's a link of Sukkot to Hanukkah. The final seal of Yom Kippur, of Shana Rabbah, the final seal is not over until when? Till Zod Hanukkah. So you see there's a connection between Sukkot and Shana Rabbah and Hanukkah. The final seal is not finished until Hanukkah. You still have a chance. Now let's speak about why Hanukkah comes after Sukkot. Historical linkage, halachic linkage, and Kabbalistic linkage between Hanukkah and Sukkot. So if you look in the book of the Maccabees, that's in the back of the Birnbaum Siddur, the final year of the War of Liberation from the Greeks, they say there, the battle took place when? On Sukkot. So they could not celebrate Sukkot, the Maccabees. So they took a lulav on what we today call Hanukkah. The Sefer Hashmonaim says they took a lulav and esrik. They couldn't do it on Sukkot. When did they do it? What we call today Hanukkah. So you see that what? That Hanukkah, as far as the Maccabees were concerned, is a makeup for what? Sukkot is 8 days, Hanukkah is 8 days, and actually the book on Maccabees says that they took a lulav and esrog and what we would call Hanukkah today. That's what it says in the book of Maccabees, Sefer Hashmonaim. Now you see the Beis Shammai, we'll get to it soon, Beis Shammai took the concept of Sukkot in their Hanukkah.
We the Jews wrote unto you in the extremity of trouble that came upon us in those years, from the time that Jason and his company revolted from the Holy Land and kingdom, and burned the porch, and shed innocent blood. Then we prayed unto the Lord, and were heard. We offered also sacrifices and fine flour, and lighted the lamps, and set forth the loaves. And now see that ye keep the Feast of Tabernacles in the month Caslu. In the 184th year, the people that were at Jerusalem and in Judea and the council and Judas sent greeting and health unto Aristobulus, King Ptolemaeus' master, who was of the stock of the anointed priests, and to the Jews that were in Egypt. Blessed be our God in all things, who hath delivered up the ungodly. Therefore, whereas we are now purposed to keep the purification of the temple upon the 25th and 20th day of the month Caslu, we thought it necessary to certify you thereof, that ye also might keep it, as the Feast of the Tabernacles and of the fire, which was given us when Nehemias offered sacrifice, after that he had builded the temple and the altar.
So you see the message of Hanukkah and Sukkot is identical to Parsume Nisa, to publicize the miracle. Which miracle? Of Jewish survival against all odds. That's what Sukkot is about, the Anani Yakovod, the force field that surrounded the Jewish people, the Iron Dome that they have, and the Hanukkah lights, the survival of the Jewish people against all odds. The frail little Sukkah, the Ner Hashem Nishmat Adam, same idea. It's amazing the connection over here between Hanukkah and what, and Sukkot. And therefore Hanukkah is 8 days, Sukkot is 8 days. You say a Hallel on 8 days of Sukkot, full Hallel. You say Hallel full 8 days of what, of Hanukkah.
Now, upon the same day that the strangers profaned the temple, on the very same day it was cleansed again, even the 25th day of the same month, which is Caslu. And they kept the 8 days with gladness, as in the Feast of the Tabernacles, remembering that not long afore they had held the Feast of the Tabernacles, when, as they wandered in the mountains and dens like beasts,
they were defiled by the dead. And Tumas Meis, Cyrus, how many days? 7. All the Gehanim were Tomei Meis. They were all warriors. Any oil that squeezed before day 8 would become what, Yael? Tomei. So God had to accommodate them. Only after 7 days of Tumas Meis, they got spritzed with the red cow ashes, went to the mikveh, and only on day number 8 were they able to what? Kvetch oil. All other oil will become Tomei. So therefore the miracle accommodated them until the Tumas Meis was over after 7 days, and day number 8 they were able to get oil without making it Tomei.
In the 24th day of the 9th month, in the 2nd year of Darius, came the word of the Lord by Haggai, the prophet, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Ask now the priests concerning the law, saying, If one bear holy flesh in the skirt of his garment, and with his skirt do touch bread, or pottage, or wine, or oil, or any meat, shall it be holy? And the priest answered and said, No. Then said Haggai, If one that is unclean by a dead body touch any of these, shall it be unclean? And the priests answered and said, It shall be unclean. Then answered Haggai and said, So is this people, and so is this nation before me, saith the Lord. And so is every work of their hands, and that which they offer there is unclean.
They were defiled by the dead. And Tumas Meis, Cyrus, how many days? 7. All the Gehanim were Tomei Meis. They were all warriors. Any oil that squeezed before day 8 would become what, Yael? Tomei. Sukkot and Hanukkah are connected. Father Maccabees, that Hanukkah is a makeup for Sukkot. In Sukkot it says in Pashas Emor, V'lekachtem lechem pri eitz Hadar. Hadar. So the halacha took this beautiful hadar from Sukkot and applied it to Hanukkah, so you have Mahadrim and Mahadrim. It gets even more fascinating, Beryl. The Mishnah says, Sukkah lamala me'esrim amma psula. If a sukkah is higher than 20 amas, it's what? Puzzle. Because there's no persume nisa, because you can't see the schach. And gam nerot Hanukkah, lamala me'esrim amma, gam nerot Hanukkah, if it's more than 20 amas, it's also puzzle. Because you can't see Parsume Nisa. You can't see the schach of the sukkah if it's 20 amas high. It's possible. And the halacha connects it, Neros Hanukkah, if it's 20 amas high, it's possible you cannot see the miracle either. So again, you have the linkage, Ira, between what? Sukkot and Hanukkah.
Consider now from this day and upward, from the 24th day of the 9th month, even from the day that the foundation of the Lord's temple was laid, consider it. Is the seed yet in the barn? Yea, as yet the vine and the fig tree, and the pomegranate, and the olive tree hath not brought forth. From this day will I bless you.
The parsha of Yosef's dreams always comes out around Hanukkah. What's the connection between Yosef's dream and Hanukkah? Always comes out. What's the connection? Yosef dreams about bundles of wheat, and he dreams about the sunlight and the moonlight. Yes? This parsha is read around Hanukkah time. Hanukkah time reminds us of what went on in the Mikdash. In the Mikdash, you had what? You had the lechem aponim that contained wheat loaves, next to the menorah, which contained what? Light. You know what I'm saying over here? Yosef had anticipated that. Easily, like what I'm saying? Yes. He dreamed about bundles of wheat. That's the lechem aponim, it's made out of wheat. And he dreamed about sunlight and moonlight. And the table containing the bundles of wheat bread, matzah bread actually, is next to the menorah, which represents what? The light of God. So Yosef, centuries before, had already what? Dreamed that. And perhaps that's why Yosef's dreams always falls around Hanukkah time.
Is the seed yet in the barn? Yea, as yet the vine and the fig tree, and the pomegranate, and the olive tree hath not brought forth. From this day will I bless you.
That's how you had the Mishkan. You had the lechem aponim, which contained the 12 wheat breads, next to what Yosef dreamt, the bundles of wheat, next to the menorah, which represents the light of God. And Yosef dreamed that when he dreamed about the sunlight and the moonlight. Now, Yosef's dream development course. What do I mean by that? Again, Parshas Vayeshev and Miketz, where Yosef has the dream, and the butlers have the dream, and Pharaoh has the dream, always fall out when? Chanukah. What's the kesher? Ira, please bear with me on this. Yosef's dream, the first one, his own dream. Next, he dreams of the butler and the baker. Then Pharaoh's dream.
God hath shown Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good kine are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is one, and the 7 thin and ill-favored kine that came up after them are 7 years, and the 7 empty ears blasted with the east wind shall be 7 years of famine. This is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh. What God is about to do, he showeth unto Pharaoh. Behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt. And there shall arise after them 7 years of famine, and all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt. And the famine shall consume the land, and the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of that famine following, for it shall be very grievous. And for that the dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice. It is because the thing is established by God, and God will shortly bring it to pass.
So Hanukkah teaches that or is only enlightening when it's attached to what? Morality. To God's light. What's morality? God's light. Symbol of Hanukkah. We are supposed to do the Or Lagoyim. The candle of God is what? The soul of a human being. You see a candle, you take a candle, you go like this. the flame will what? Always go up. The human being is not that. The wax, the body, decomposes. But the flame, moving on up. We are indestructible. We are God's eternal flame.
And I turned to see the voice that spake with me. And being turned, I saw 7 golden candlesticks, and in the midst of the 7 candlesticks one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle, the mystery of the 7 stars which thou sawest in my right hand, and the 7 golden candlesticks. The 7 stars are the angels of the 7 churches, and the 7 candlesticks which thou sawest are the 7 churches.
The first night you light what? 8. All 8. Then pochos v'holach. Then you what? You diminish. Corresponding to the Porachag of Sukkot. They tie it just like the bulls of Sukkot. The first day of Sukkot they brought 13 bulls. That's no bull. Then 12. Then 11. Then 10. Pochos v'holach. So Beishamai says, so Sukkot is like what? Hanukkah like Sukkot, just like on Sukkot, Pochos v'holach. So the same thing with Hanukkah. First you light 8, and then you go backwards, as the bulls of Sukkot was done the first day. 13 bulls, then 12, then 11, then 10. Pretty interesting. Now it's amazing. You go to the Israel Museum, you can see this. The Maccabees actually minted a coin. You see the Israel Museum. On one side of the coin, there's a picture of what? Menorah.
Who is left among you that saw this house in her first glory? And how do ye see it now? Is it not in your eyes in comparison of it as nothing? Yet now be strong, O Zerubbabel, saith the Lord, and be strong, O Joshua, son of Josedech the high priest, and be strong, all ye people of the land, saith the Lord, and work, for I am with you, saith the Lord of hosts. According to the word that I covenanted with you when ye came out of Egypt, so my spirit remaineth among you. Fear ye not. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, yet once it is a little while, and I will shake the heavens, and the earth, and the sea, and the dry land. And I will shake all nations, and the desire of all nations shall come, and I will fill this house with glory, saith the Lord of hosts. The silver is mine, and the gold is mine, saith the Lord of hosts. The glory of this latter house shall be greater than of the former, saith the Lord of hosts. And in this place will I give peace, saith the Lord of hosts. And again the word of the Lord came unto Haggai in the 24th day of the month, saying, Speak to Zerubbabel, governor of Judah, saying, I will shake the heavens and the earth, and I will overthrow the throne of kingdoms, and I will destroy the strength of the kingdoms of the heathen, and I will overthrow the chariots and those that ride in them, and the horses and their riders shall come down every one by the sword of his brother. In that day, saith the Lord of hosts, will I take thee, O Zerubbabel, my servant, the son of Shealtiel, saith the Lord, and will make thee as a signet. For I have chosen thee, saith the Lord of hosts.
And I'm also watching December 18th through the 26th now. We've been watching Hanukkah every year for the last, I want to say, 2 years. I'm only 4 years old in Christ, guys. I can't. Some of you can go back for like 10 years. No, I'm only 4 years old in Christ. But we've been watching Hanukkah for the last 2 years. So this is why I am adding this time in here, if the Lord does tarry. I feel so strongly that Hanukkah is really the time of Jacob's trouble, and could even be the time of the 40 days that the rain is upon the earth. And I think you guys will understand why. So Hanukkah is from the 18th through the 26th. This is obviously not on the delayed calendar. This also could be a feast that the Lord turns into mourning, because if it is really the time of Jacob's trouble, there will be no celebration. There will be no singing. There will be no celebrating Hanukkah. There will be no lights. There'll be nothing. It'll be darkness.
The new wine mourneth, the vine languisheth, all the merry-hearted do sigh. The mirth of tabrets ceaseth, the noise of them that rejoice endeth, the joy of the harp ceaseth. They shall not drink wine with a song. Strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. The city of confusion is broken down, every house is shut up, that no man may come in. There is a crying for wine in the streets, all joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. In the city is left desolation, and the gate is smitten with destruction.
So I just wanted to add it in here just in case we're going to watch Hanukkah should our watch times in November come and go, and even beyond Hanukkah should the Lord tarry. So Hanukkah begins on the 18th and ends on the 26th. Jesus quoted directly from 1 Maccabees to describe Jacob's trouble. I don't know if you guys remember, at least those of you who have been here 2 years ago, when I had uploaded a video about how I was being heavily convicted to read the book of Maccabees. So I had read 1 Maccabees in its entirety. And when I read it, I understood the conviction, because it was when I read it that I understood that it was literally Jacob's trouble. There are so many similarities to Jacob's trouble and the Maccabean revolt. Also, the date ending on the 26th is always high watch for me personally. Enoch is tied to the Feast of Dedication. Enoch means dedicated. He is the seventh from Adam. He never dies. The seventh church that concludes church history never dies, but is translated just like Enoch. Enoch is just like us, translated before the flood. We're translated before Jacob's trouble. Noah is preserved through the flood. Jacob is preserved through Jacob's trouble. So we can see an association here. We see an association between the Festival of Lights and the 10 Virgins. We talked about that in that video, I believe. We see the correlation between the menorah lamp of Hanukkah and the 7 churches' lampstands, and Jesus being in the midst of those lampstands, and those lampstands burning before the throne. At the Rapture and Revelation 4 of John's vision, Jesus also celebrated this feast in John's Gospel, John 10. And it was at Jerusalem, the Feast of Dedication, and it was winter. So I hope you guys can see this, but I tried to color code this so that you guys can easily see the similarities from the book of Maccabees and from what Jesus is teaching about Jacob's trouble. In Matthew 24, it says here, he and his sons fled to the mountains, leaving behind all they owned. And then Jesus says in Matthew 24, then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house, neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And then it says in the green, the Israelites who are seeking to be right with God through obedience to the law went out to live in the wilderness. And then it says down here in green, they had gone out into hiding into the wilderness. Then it says in Revelation 12 concerning the woman which is Israel, and the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,203 square days, 1,260 days. Jesus says, but pray your flight be not in winter, neither on the Sabbath. Then it says during the Maccabean revolt, taking their children, their wives, and their livestock with them, because of the terrible oppression they were suffering. Jesus says in Matthew 24, and woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. And then the purple is to just show you they're in Jerusalem. The report soon reached the king's officials and the soldiers in the fort at Jerusalem that some men who had defiled the king's command, when ye therefore see the abomination of desolation spoken by the prophet Daniel stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. So the Sabbath and winter equals Hanukkah. The Sabbath would be the sabbatical when Jesus returns during the Shemitah in 2031. Hanukkah is in winter. Jesus is saying, pray your flight. Do not be on the Sabbath, because Jesus is not returning to the Sabbath in 2031 on Yom Kippur. And he's also saying, pray your flight not be in winter. because Hanukkah is in the winter. On the Sabbath and on the winter is Jacob's trouble. Another place in Matthew 24 and 1 Maccabees chapter 2, verses 32 and 38. It says, a large force of soldiers pursued them, caught up with them, set up camp opposite them, and prepared to attack them on the Sabbath. So the enemy attacked them on the Sabbath and killed the men, their wives, their children, and their livestock. 1,000 people died. Matthew 24:20. But pray ye that your flight be not in winter, neither on the Sabbath day. Now we know Yom Kippur is clearly not in the winter time. It's in the fall time. And Hanukkah is in the winter. That means Jacob's trouble is in the winter, and Jesus Christ is not coming until the Sabbath. If you're going through that time, you have to go through those 7 years. To sum this up about Hanukkah, the Maccabean revolt being the time of Jacob's trouble, the revolt is all about the coming of the Antichrist, Antiochus Epiphanes. This is the man who was the Antichrist. He ordered the Jews to worship the false Greek god Zeus. The Maccabean revolt is all about reconsecrating the temple after being desecrated. And this was led by Judas Maccabee. Jesus is coming as the Lion of the tribe of Judah. And the revolt ends with dedicating that temple. I believe that this is about Jewish people who receive Christ in Jacob's trouble. Jesus will rebuild his temple, and he will be crowned king. He's already king. There's no king but Jesus, folks. I believe Jesus said, pray your flight not be in winter, because in the winter, when Hanukkah occurs, is Jacob's trouble. Pray your flight not be on the Sabbath refers to the Shemitah or the sabbatical, when trib, saints, and the remnant of Israel takes flight. In 2031 on the Feast of Trumpets in Matthew 24.
From the 24th day of the 9th month, even from the day that the foundation of the Lord's temple was laid, consider it. Is the seed yet in the barn? Yea, as yet the vine and the fig tree and the pomegranate and the olive tree hath not brought forth. From this day will I bless you. And again, the word of the Lord came unto Haggai in the 24th day of the month, saying, Speak to Zerubbabel, governor of Judah, saying, I will shake the heavens and the earth, and I will overthrow the throne of kingdoms, and I will destroy the strength of the kingdoms of the heathen, and I will overthrow the chariots and those that ride in them. The new wine mourneth, the vine languisheth, all the merry-hearted do sigh. The mirth of tabrets ceaseth, the noise of them that rejoice endeth, the joy of the harp ceaseth. They shall not drink wine with a song. Strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. The city of confusion is broken down, every house is shut up, that no man may come in. There is a crying for wine in the streets, all joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. In the city is left desolation, and the gate is smitten with destruction. When thus it shall be in the midst of the land among the people, there shall be as the shaking of an olive tree.
He's been there 4 days.
Lazarus. I am the resurrection and the life. Anyone who believes in me, even if he dies, he will still have life.
Blessed be our God in all things, who hath delivered up the ungodly. Therefore, whereas we are now purposed to keep the purification of the temple upon the 25th and 20th day of the month Caslow, we thought it necessary to certify you thereof, that ye also might keep it, as the feast of the tabernacles and of the fire, which was given us when Nehemias offered sacrifice, after that he had builded the temple and the altar.
All human mind, all of yours will be killed probably end of this year, and your families will be killed.
Their descent on Aleppo has been blistering in its speed, taking the Syrian regime and the world by surprise. Opposition fighters now control much of the city, and they're vowing to take the capital Damascus next.
It's the biggest flare-up in years in a civil war that has seen involvement by Russia, Iran, the U.S., Turkey, and Israel.
My concern is that China and Russia are going to have a role here. Of course, they're aligned with Iran. They're helping the Houthis to make the Red Sea more dangerous. And of course, they're helping Assad in Damascus.
See the entire city fall in 24 hours, as we did yesterday, is, beyond dramatic. It's like an earthquake.
The General Assembly is now voting on Draft Resolution A/79/L23 entitled Peaceful Settlement of the Question of Palestine as orally revised.
And now it's time to hit the head of the octopus, the nuclear program and the regime itself.
Yet once it is a little while, and I will shake the heavens and the earth and the sea and the dry land. And I will shake all nations, and the desire of all nations shall come. And I will fill this house with glory, saith the Lord of hosts. The silver is mine, and the gold is mine, saith the Lord of hosts. The glory of this latter house shall be greater than of the former, saith the Lord of hosts. And in this place will I give peace, saith the Lord of hosts. And again, the word of the Lord came unto Haggai in the 24th day of the month, saying, Speak to Zerubbabel, governor of Judah, saying, I will shake the heavens and the earth, and I will overthrow the throne of kingdoms, and I will destroy the strength of the kingdoms of the heathen, and I will overthrow the chariots and those that ride in them, and the horses and their riders shall come down, every one by the sword of his brother. The land shall be utterly emptied and utterly spoiled. For the Lord has spoken this word. The earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore hath the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left. The new wine mourneth, the vine languisheth. The day of thy watchman and thy visitation cometh. Now shall be their perplexity. All the merry-hearted do sigh. The mirth of tabrets ceaseth. The noise of them that rejoice endeth. The joy of the harp ceaseth. They shall not drink wine with a song. Strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. The city of confusion is broken down. Every house is shut up, that no man may come in. There is a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. In the city is left desolation, and the gate is smitten with destruction. The end is come upon my people of Israel. I will not again pass by them any more. And the songs of the temple shall be howlings in that day, saith the Lord God. There shall be many dead bodies in every place. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord God, that I will cause the sun to go down at noon, and I will darken the earth in the clear day. And I will turn your feasts into mourning, and all your songs into lamentation. And I will bring up sackcloth upon all loins, and baldness upon every head. And I will make it as the mourning of an only son, and the end thereof as a bitter day. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord God, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house, neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye, that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. But of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. The day of thy watchman and thy visitation cometh. Now shall be their perplexity.
Turn from your sin, for all this society is about to come under the justice of God.